Right, on the EOC review packet, we are looking at number 81. So it tells us that Robert sharpens pencils for a math contest. He sharpened 8 pencils in 2 minutes. He sharpened 32 pencils in 8 minutes. So if he continues at the same rate, what equation can be used to predict the number of pencils he can sharpen in 30 minutes? So we're going to use P for pencils, number of pencils, and T for the number of minutes, so time, and then find the slope of that line. So we need to decide which one of these is the dependent and which is the independent. So in this case, the number of pencils sharpened depends on how many minutes he's been sharpening. So like the longer he sharpens, the more pencils. So if I wrote this as an ordered pair, I would write that in 2 minutes, 8 pencils were sharpened, because the pencils depend on how many minutes. And if I were to write this, I would write 8 minutes was 32 pencils, because the pencils depend on how many minutes he's been sharpening. So to write an equation of a line, I need to start with slope. Slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. It doesn't matter which one's 0.1 and which one's 0.2, as long as we are consistent. I put my fraction minus minus in first because it helps me not mess up my signs when I have negatives. So I'm going to do 32 minus 8. And if I do 32 first, then I must do 8 first in the denominator. Again, you could switch those as long as you switch both the numerator and denominator. So 32 minus 8 will give me 24. 8 minus 2 gives me 6. So the slope is 4. So slope, in this case, is 4 pencils per minute. So that's either a very slow pencil sharpener, or they keep breaking, or something. So he wants us to write an equation, and we found the slope is 4. So to write an equation, we can do y equals mx plus b. Common sense hopefully tells you that the y-intercept is 0, because if there no minutes go by, he hasn't sharpened any pencils. But we can always check, so we're going to pick a point. These numbers are smaller, so I'm going to pick those. So y is 8, and we said was 4, and x is 2. So I can solve for b, the y-intercept. Gives me a little one-step equation. So using inverse operations, b is in fact 0. So the equation is y equals 4x. So it said we want to know 30 minutes, how many can he sharpen? So we would do, I used x and y, and looking at that problem, it says specifically to use P for number of pencils and T for time. So pencils is 4T. So again, we want to go back and make sure we're rereading the question, because that's a very simple mistake. It's not that we didn't know what we were doing, we just didn't read the question all the way and make sure we're using what they ask us to. So back to finding 30 minutes. So 30 minutes, the number of pencils, 4 times 30 minutes would be 120 pencils. And then again, the slope we said was 4.